the beginning of me working there, I would get to know more about her and some of her impacts in Oakland so that I could then, be responding to constituents with, this is what Sheng Thao is doing, this is what Sheng Thao has done, and I never really got that meeting. She pretty much said, you will not get a chance to work with me or any of that if you're not willing to if you're not working on the campaign, because that's what I'm going to be doing. And so my role was in the office. Her role was on her campaign side. And so I didn't really see her very much. I could probably count on my hands. I didn't talk to her because she didn't meet with me. And very soon after I started, my uncle had a stroke, who lives in Reno. And I had, they were like, I didn't realize that I only had 7.5 hours that I worked because it felt like work was nonstop every day, all day. And so I had I had asked her, like, I need to know when I'm going to be off. My uncle had a stroke. He's in the hospital. They've removed a part of his skull. I need to go down there. He doesn't have a wife or kids. He doesn't have anybody. I need to be able to know when I'll have time. Like, right. When am I going to be off from here? And so we ended up making a schedule where we would rotate weekends off. And I didn't realize this.
LeAna, you're telling me, because I know state labor law says that you're entitled, for example, 30-minute lunch break. I mean, there are not only entitled times off and times on, they have to inform you of this. No one took you aside. No one at the office acted like they cared enough to let you know.
I don't know who would have done that. They would have had to be there.
Well, their chief of staff, for one. Chief of staff should know it like that. I remember for Elihu as economic advisor. Nicole was our chief of staff. She knew that sort of thing. And that was way back in 1990, 95 to 99.
Again, I mean, the only thing I think of is that she was new and she had a lot on her plate. Everybody was working like a double job. I was trying to learn the job that I was being paid to do. And when we finally decided that we would rotate weekends, which in hindsight, I didn't even have to do weekends. I was not required to do that, but I was told that I'm going to be working on weekends. And so I didn't even think about it. But when we finally determined whose weekends was whose, and it was my weekend to be free, I went directly to Reno to go check on my uncle. And I got a call like, why aren't you in this meeting? Why are you this? So I'm literally in the mountains and all the way up to the hospital in the cafeteria on the phone trying to explain that everybody knew that I was not going to be working this weekend. And it was to like learn how to use an app to, support her canvassing. And I'm just like, it's on everybody's calendar. Everybody knew I had this time off. So, she hung up the phone in my face at one point. She called me back. She was like, well, I don't have time to talk about this. I asked my manager, like, why wouldn't y'all tell her where I was? Everybody knew where I was. But it just was a very punitive situation. Like, just
did anyone ask what your uncle was doing?
I was in the cafeteria in Renown Hospital while my uncle was like fighting for his life.
And they never expressed any concern about you or your uncle or anything?
She told me she said, I'm sorry, this is not your fault. But ultimately, I ended up fired. When I came back, she's like, you knew what you were getting involved in. I'm like, actually, I did not. I didn't know what I was getting involved in. I have a kid that has autism. He's 6 years old. I have another kid that, has needs as a first generation college student, and trans. I had a lot of other responsibilities, and I didn't have capacity to work for her 24/7. She wanted, if my phone rang or buzzed, I was supposed to be on it. And sometimes that was 1 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it was 5 o'clock in the morning. It was even on my anniversary. So, you know what I mean? Like, it was literally nonstop. And, I have all of that information. Like, this is the facts. I didn't have capacity. She said, do you want to work on this campaign or not? I said, well, first of all, I thought I would be volunteering what time I had, not required to do something that I didn't have capacity to do and then be getting in trouble for it left and right.